rockumentary, Sean?
Yeah.
Check.
Yes, it really is.
This is Blind Justice!
I showed you what Chris did with me,
Yep.
and you showed me what Chris did with you,
Yep.
and they were vastly different. But the common denominator was Chris was rapping over it.
Why? Because the industry
Rappers were doing it over tracks or over samples or just with the DJ. I feel like Chris might have invented have a live band in the room, and then he assembled the drummer, the bass player, the keyboard player.
My kit, my mic, my DJ, and MIKs. 4-track that work to work out specifically. When making the bacon death cut. To be on top of the chart, get smart. I don't have to. I'll show you the force, that's my IQ. Hat you. Thank you. The plan will make through till I break through to you.
For a local band in Connecticut to have, the kind of turnout that we had at every show, something was right. I think it partially comes too because you're a drummer as well, so you're thinking that you're really good in the rhythm section, and your bass playing was just so perfect through all of that. You were the perfect bass player for that band.
Extend the compliments.
I feel like I have to hug you after this. Is that?
KJK brings the kiss with no miss of life. To stop the rhythm again. I've been held down before, I probably will be again. Recovering addict, I've changed my role. I hang on the posse who helps carry the load. Down on the 9th square, faces reflect on the corner. But no one, she knows that in fact and in end they are friends.
Anyway,
So what are we talking about?
okay, so we're
Talking about. I'm talking about what I'm talking about. What exactly is Chris? This is Chris that he's talking about.
So
He doesn't own a shirt, believe it or not, and he wouldn't take one. We tried to give him a shirt.
Chris came out and there was a big entrance and he put on a show that was for a Coliseum.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy
He did-
mackerel.
he-
We had more people in the band because he had quite an entourage. So we had dancers, everything was there. And I remember when we got done with that show, I thought, oh my gosh, if this guy could put on a show like that.
But take a second glance, composition, percussion, the tribe's last chance.
This is the original Blind Justice tape that we made in 1989.
Trumpet voice, I'll blind you like me. One-man band rocks a rhythm with taste. Couldn't find no one to be down.
In the beginning of In Stereo, it was basically just riffing on E, against the beat, it would go. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And then Chris had an idea to add a trumpet, so he asked Beula Ticknor.
I was like, sure, of course, I can believe it. I was like, yeah, definitely. And so he actually had, this is 1989, and he was using the space. I think it was kind of a free type of space that they used in New Haven for the improv classes. And then he wanted me to play trumpet on the In Stereo song. And so I came, and I think he kind of set up a little kind of booth for me to record in. And he just did it all in like a day. And it was incredible. In like an hour or two. It was amazing. And his energy was incredible. And then he was so cool with me. And I was like still kind of intimidated. He was so cool with me. He'd be like, okay, cue me in. And I had my trumpet. I had this mute in it, I believe. I had the cut mute, I think. And that's what makes that nice like kind of change in tone. It goes along the lines of... He just had me do it a few times, and then he recorded it, and he added a little reverb, I think, to it, and it was amazing.
On fucking sound with some melody. No MC at hot, man. I made a groove, was trying to start a band. Well, what you know? Ended up rocking my groove in stereo. Percussion drums, I used to be all thumbs. Now I'm the MC to get the job done.
I wanted the song to just break down at the end into a cool, funky, almost like a Stevie Wonder superstition breakdown. And so it went.
And I always remember that it went. We came out strong, and people enjoyed what they saw, and the place erupted. Every person in the house stood up out of their chairs and lost their minds. Such an adrenaline rush. It was like, wow, we got something here.
Years later, U2 came out with an album called Achtung Baby. And on that album, there was a song called The Fly. And you can imagine my delight when I heard this riff come off of the U2 album. Yeah, that was nice. I mean, it validated my riff writing capabilities, if nothing else, you know. Now, did U2 have access to our original Blind Justice tape, the orange cassette? I don't know. I think they might have, because we sent that cassette all over the place. We ran off dubs of our cassette, made labels for the side and J cards, and we mailed this by snail mail all over the country. In fact, Musician Magazine named Blind Justice one of the top 100 unsigned bands in America. Out of over 5,000 entries, we made it to number 9. And once that happened in print, record labels were calling on the landline and asking for cassettes and can they come to our shows, etc., etc. We were talking to Atlantic Records, Epic Records, Attic Records, MCA, Geffen, Epic Associates. I mean, it went on and on. And then the Red Hot Chili Peppers came out with this song where his vocal line is doing that riff.
Can't stop, addicted to the shindig. Chop, chop, it says I'm gonna win big. Choose not to life of imitation.
Chris was always very ambitious about pushing this new style of music. And when I say new style of music, it was a collaboration of rap, rock and roll.
He was such a force. He really, part of that bringing rap and rock together was like, in my mind, I thought that was like where it was at. I thought that was like the inevitable evolution of things.
All God's children of hell carry the load. The foe, that's the forces of evil. Puzzles and the people, so like Eva Knievel. I jump the jump, but like the draws this drug back. The rhythm in your track, rock. You're ready, rock is steady. If you're ready, then I'm ready. Cause down on that 9th square, faces reflect on the corner. What's that I know? She loves us this thing of friends. Hey rockers, hip hoppers, and everybody all around the world. Hands up, hands down. Back, tell me what you're gonna do now.
And it's so funny because years later, Limp Bizkit came out. And I remember specifically hearing Limp Bizkit, and I said to myself, Chris was way ahead of his time.
It's unfortunate that we weren't 3 years later. I think Rage Against the Machine hit it just right, and I think Tom, while we're on the subject, I think Tom sort of took our blueprint from what he saw when we opened up for Lockup.
You gotta wonder.
The guy
said-
from Rage Against the Machine was in Lockup?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tom was the guitarist in Lockup.
Wow.
And he was on the side of the stage like this, through the, like watching us play. And I could see the wheels going. And maybe within 6 months, Lockup was broken up, and within a year, Rage was happening.
Tribe, T-I-E meets the tribe. Be who you be, the reason why they're trapped together.
If you were a musician, you heard about Blind Justice.
It was kind of like nothing anybody had ever done.
Unbelievable. I remember looking at the person next to me and saying, "Oh my God." And they didn't respond because their eyes were fixated on Blind Justice.
Mr. A steps into your life, throwing the towel. Your hiccup to a moving train is hard to swallow. Mission is ruthless, morals you don't got any. Rob cheap, beat Annie, your last pennies.
We had a lot of these moments where people are in the back like,
In fact, all drugs are his tools. Making schools, you feel close to act like fools. Step into the great show.
It was like rock and rap and his wordplay.
We were part of the evolution of those genres coming together.
Chris Keys, he is a true innovator of what people call rap rock right now. In fact, he was probably one of the first people to incorporate rap over rock music, and he called it rap and roll.
I mean, it was bound to happen, but Blind Justice did it first.
To be honest with you, that dude deserves a lot more credit and a lot more respect than he gets now.
It's just a huge question mark to me. 850 people there when they play. They're working off a cassette. They've got a cassette out. No record label, no promotions as far as I know, no budget. They're all showing up in a station wagon, and they're a monster.
And you can hear him say, teachers, doctors, lawyers, all become creeps. Addiction has no prejudice, he makes the clean sweep across all categories of life on this earth. He brings human beings to have no worth. He's a mental, physical, spiritual disease. Play mercy with him, he'll bring you to your knees. Fight them on the bucket, it seems to make him stronger. Take off the boxing gloves, feel it longer.
it was a wild band. We were doing stuff so different from what everybody else was doing. That's what really made us stand out.
I consider Chris Keys probably one of the best frontmen of all time. I would put him against all the greats.
The ultimate frontman, oh my God. Grab audience in 3 seconds, and then just squeeze until they're basically unconscious. Best frontman I ever worked with, honestly.
That band was pretty legendary.
How this band, years later, 40 years later, people say, well, what happened? I don't know.
Children of hell carry the load.
It was controlled chaos.
It was an experience.
Yeah.
It wasn't like music. You could talk about the music, but there was a show. There was all these aspects to the show. There were people dancing, doing backflips. You had the guy posing on stage, the bodybuilders, all kinds, and it was all done with no budget. There was no budget at all for any of those shows, and they would put on this massive show. I always thought I had the best seat in the house.
The Pulsar boys packed to the hill. They crack it up later to run from Gil. Jumbo crack, no slack taken in. Only God knows when the shooting begins. Slum shack set up, a major roller. The king his knights, set the money holder. Crackheads gather like mice to cheese. They'll do anything, even group to form 3 to get a rush of black.